They say you can't outrun your past. But no one tells you how heavy it becomes when you stop running. When I came back from Afghanistan, I thought the worst was over. I had both legs, both arms, and my heart still beat in my chest. But I was wrong. The worst part wasn't the bullets or the bombs. It was the silence. The silence after the war. The kind that creeps into your bedroom at night. The kind that sits with you at the breakfast table while your wife talks, and you just nod because you're not really there. I carried a weight that no one could see. It wasn't my rucksack or my gear. It was guilt, grief, and memories that never aged. I saw faces that weren't there. I heard gunfire in the shower. I smelled sand and sweat when I closed my eyes, even though I was safe at home. Safe, but not whole. My wife, Sarah, tried her best. God bless her. She would ask if I wanted to talk, and I would say, nothing to talk about. But there was too much, more than words could carry. And so, I carried it alone. I didn't tell her about Kyle. He was my closest friend over there. We shared everything: rations, secrets, fear. He was the one who made us laugh on the darkest days. Until the day he didn't come back from patrol. One moment, we were joking about how bad the MREs were. The next, I was holding his helmet, covered in dust and blood. I still remember the sound the radio made when they called it in. Cold, mechanical, like his life was just another number in the system. I blamed myself. I was his squad leader. I should have gone with him. Should have taken his place. These thoughts followed me. Home like a shadow I couldn't shake. I tried everything. Drinking, working long shifts, avoiding sleep. I even tried pretending everything was fine. But the weight never went away. It just grew heavier. One night, I found myself sitting alone in the garage. It was late, the house was quiet, and my hands were shaking for no reason at all. I looked around and felt like a stranger in my own life. That's when I saw it. An old notebook Sarah had bought me years ago. It was supposed to be for grocery lists or home improvement plans. But that night, it became something else. I opened it and stared at the blank page. My hands hovered above the paper for what felt like an hour. Then, without thinking, I wrote his name. Kyle. Just that. And then, the rest followed like a flood breaking a dam. I wrote about the day we met. About his jokes. His laugh. How he always sang off-key but didn't care. I wrote about the mission. The radio call. The helmet. I wrote until my hand cramped. And my eyes burned. And then I sat back and looked at what I had done. For the first time in years, I didn't feel numb. The next night, I wrote again. This time about the first ambush we survived together. Then the time he saved my life with nothing but a shout and quick reflexes. I wrote about things I never told anyone, not even Sarah. The fear, the shame, the strange comfort of knowing death was always close. And the guilt of being the one who came home. As the pages filled, I felt lighter. Not healed, but not drowning either. Sarah found the notebook one morning. She didn't say anything right away. Just gave me a long look, the kind that cuts through all your defenses. Then she said, "I'm glad you're writing. I see a little more of you coming back." That hit me harder than any mortar ever could. Eventually, I started writing about my return. About trying to be a father again. About the first time my daughter touched my shoulder from behind, and I almost knocked her over, thinking I was being attacked. About how I sat in the car for hours some days, unable to walk into the grocery store because the crowd made me feel like I was back in a marketplace in Kabul. I wrote about therapy, too. Or at least, the first time I tried. I walked into the VA office and walked right back out. Twice. The third time, I sat down. I didn't say much, but I was there. That was a start. My therapist, Dr. Lewis, told me something that stuck with me. She said, "You survived war. Now you have to survive peace. And that's a whole different kind of battle." Damn right. It was. She encouraged me to keep writing. Even offered to read some of it. At first, I was ashamed. But she didn't judge me. She didn't pity me either. She just listened. And in that space, I began to breathe again. A few months later, Sarah suggested I share a few of my pages online. "Maybe there's someone out there who needs to read it," she said. I was hesitant. This was my pain, my story. But I posted a short entry about Kyle. About what he meant to me. And the responses I got. They blew me away. Other veterans wrote me. Strangers. Brothers and sisters I never met. Some said, "You said what I've been trying to say for years." Others just said, "Thank you." And that was enough. Writing saved me. Not in a dramatic, Hollywood kind of way, but slowly, patiently. like a friend sitting beside you in the dark, saying, "I'm not leaving." Over time, I started to laugh. Again, real laughter, the kind that feels like air coming back into your lungs. I started coaching my son's baseball team. I sat through an entire 4th of July fireworks show without flinching. I even gave a talk at a local high school about service, sacrifice, and healing. Point one day, my son came home with a school assignment. He had to write about someone he looked up to. He chose me. In his paper, he said, "My dad is my hero, not because he went to war, but because he came back and learned how to live again." I cried when I read that. Really cried. And for once, it didn't feel weak. It felt human. I began organizing weekly meetups at the community center for other veterans. We didn't call it group therapy. We just called it coffee night. No pressure to talk, just a safe space. Sometimes we sat in silence. Sometimes someone would share something they hadn't told another soul. It was powerful, healing. Even, there was this one guy, Marcus, who hadn't spoken more than a few words for months. One night, he stayed behind after everyone else left. He tapped my shoulder and said, "I started writing too." That was all. But I knew exactly what he meant. But make no mistake, I still carry the weight. I always will. Some nights are harder than others. Some memories sneak up when I least expect them. But now, I have a place to put them. On paper. In words. Instead of burying them in my chest, I let them live in ink. And in doing so, I've made peace with parts of myself I thought were lost forever. That if you're out there reading this, if you're carrying your own weight, just know you don't have to do it alone. Maybe writing isn't your thing. Maybe it's music, or painting, or talking to someone who understands. But find your outlet. Find your release, because you survived. And that means something. It means there's still a life worth living. It means the story isn't over. It means there's still time to heal. And sometimes, healing starts with just one word on a blank page.